was watching Invincible the other night, and there's a part where Mark was told by Cecil, "You're not your father." And I was thinking about that because that's something that I've struggled with. I love my parents. I really, really do. There's just an aspect to me that didn't want to make the same mistakes that my father did. And I think Mark felt the same way about his dad, Omni-Man, because he did kill hundreds of thousands of people because that was what he was set out to do. Whereas my dad, he's a great man. He taught me lots of amazing things. There are just certain aspects I was like, I can't be like this for my kids one day, to my wife one day. I just can't be like that. And it's always terrified me on the inside because it's just like, well, what if I am like him? What if I do become the same as him in the regards that I don't want to? There are some traits that I do love and I do admire that he has shared with me. There are other regards that he has also shared with me, and I'm just like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to do that to my wife, to my kids, to myself to begin with. So it's like, that's why I started down this path of personal growth, self-discovery, and just overall self-growth and inquiry. Whereas I didn't think he would ever do that, and it's perfectly okay. It's just what parents do. Parents are parents. They try their best that they can, and that's why I come out and make these videos every single day, because it's just like, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'm not worried about your opinion or your thoughts or your perceptions of myself any longer, and I know for a fact at this point in time that I won't become him, because that's not who I am. I am somebody that is willing to provide and protect and be there for my kids and be there for my woman, because that's just what I do. And that's what Mark has done through Invincible, as well as he does everything to make sure that he doesn't kill and devastate the other people around him, because he doesn't want to be like his father. He doesn't want to put people through the pain and sorrow and the suffering that his dad did. But the crazy part about this is when he finally said, after Omni-Man was telling Mark at the end, it's like, after 500 years, who will you have? And that's when he's like, you. And that changed his father's perspective. That changed his father's perspective of who Mark was, who his son had become. And it was a son who his father could be proud of. He realized it's like, okay, my son is strong, he's capable, he is able to do what he needs to do in the face of adversity, in the face of challenge, and he will continue to get back up, and he will continue to fight, and he will continue to provide and protect those he is around for the 500, 6,000 years that he's alive. And I want to do the exact same thing. I want to have an impact. I want to be able to change people's perspectives and people's minds. And I can give a little bit of a backstory around this as well, too, because I was hanging out with this girl last night, and she and I ended up going back to her place, and we were chatting and talking. And I kind of came to this realization because she was talking with her babysitter, and her and I, we were talking a little bit, and she was kind of bringing up, saying these certain words and terminologies that I was like, yeah, these are things that, I didn't say this exactly, but it was just back in my mind. I was like, these are things that I've heard from, one, my parents, and then two, from just other strangers, where we seem to make this perception that we think, okay, this is the thing that I need to do. These are the things that I need to say. And when we're saying negative, bad things about ourselves, those are the words that matter most. So if it's like, okay, I'm not going to be doing this, or I am this way, it's just like those words do start to become our reality. Those words do start to shape us into the person that we want to be. So if we are continually thinking like, okay, I don't want to be like my dad, then we won't be like our dad. But if it's like, okay, I have characteristic traits of my father, then I'm going to show those specific characteristic traits. And I was talking with this other man later at night as well at this ice little convention thing that her and I ended up going to with a couple of her friends. And he was telling me where it's just like the world is in a different place right now. And he was talking about how family values aren't the same as they once were. And I was like, I have to agree with you on that, because most families nowadays, from what I've been able to tell, don't sit down with one another to have dinner. There is just, it's this competitive nature between okay, the woman and the man, they're both going to work, we're hiring a babysitter to watch our kids because we want to go out and live our lives. But it's just like, why have kids at that point? That just doesn't make sense. Wouldn't you rather be a mom and a dad who are there for your kids, who are raising them with your specific values? And that's what I liked about talking with this older gentleman last night, was he was telling me those types of things. I was like, yeah, that's true. And then afterwards, I could tell that the girl that I was with, she wasn't super thrilled about what was going on and the things that were happening. And I was like, okay, yeah, I get that. And her and I chatted a bit afterwards, and I was like, yeah, I can tell you were getting a little offended with what he was talking about. I was just like, why is that? And she's like, well, yeah, he doesn't know me. He doesn't know my past. We were never taught, like, if we were raised in a broken family, we don't know how to have those family dinners or anything like that. I'm like, yeah, that's the hard part. And that's why I make videos that I do, is because I want to be able to relay stories and show that, like, hey, we don't have to be how our parents were. We get to be who we want to be. And that's the great part about being an adult, being a young adult, being in your 18, 19, early years of your 20s, because there are choices that we do get to make as people, and we don't have to allow our parents or our past to dictate the choices that we make. Like, a prime example is my dad. He drinks quite a bit, not as much as he once did, because him and I ended up chatting about this and talking about it. That's a conversation that I don't think any kid ever wants to have with their parent, of telling them, hey, like, you're drinking too much. I'm worried about your health. I'm worried about you crashing or dying or whatever it may be on, like, a motorcycle. And I was just like, that's not something that I've ever wanted to have to witness. So I ended up talking to him about that, and that kind of changed his drinking habits a little bit. And those are conversations that I don't think many kids are willing to have with their parents, because their parent is maybe one, too omniscient and too powerful. And it's like, well, you can't talk to me that way. But then it's like, well, I'm making my own money. I'm doing my own thing. Like, you can't dictate what I do and say. Like, at the end of the day, you are just another person. Like, yes, you did help bring me into this world and you raised me from the ground up, but it's my life. I get to decide how I behave, the things that I do, and the questions that I ask you, because these questions are questions that I would ask anybody that I care for, if it's my parent or if it's not my parent. And that's the tough part, you guys. At least that is the tough part, that you'll start to come to realize that if you do start to decide to want to make different changes, maybe step away from your family, away certain belief patterns that you've had, away from an understanding of who you thought you once were, because that's who your parents always told you needed to be. I look at it in different terms now, where it's like, I'm just living my life. I'm making the choices that I know are going to benefit me in the long run. And sometimes, yes, they may be painful. Sometimes they may be a little bit hard, especially for those around me to swallow, of who I am. And it's just like, that's on you guys. I can't control those. If you want to have a conversation and talk to me about, like, hey, why are you doing this? Or why are you not working this way? Or what do you believe in? What do you not believe in? Then that's just part of it. Like, there isn't anything that I can do to stop somebody from believing those things and talking about those things about me behind my back or whatever it may be. Then to sit down and have a discussion and talk with me, then by all means, I will happily do that. And that's why I do share myself, and why I am much more open and transparent than anybody that I know, because I understand that that's how we build relationships. I understand that's how we grow as people. I understand that's how we come to a self-understanding of ourselves. And that's how we avoid becoming our parent, is by doing things that our parent had never done in the past, to help us become stronger, more aware, more into our true authentic nature. Because too often we have people that will try to push us one way or the other. Like, one last prime example for you guys as well too, and then we'll wrap this video up. I have been working with this other guy, which, if you guys want to work with me one-on-one, personal coaching, down in the description down below, just shoot me an email and we'll work something out that is helpful for you and your goals and the direction that you want to take in your life. Him and I, we were working and talking together, and his mom is very controlling in a sense. And I'm just like, dude, you can't be letting her dictate what she does and what you can say and what you can't say. It's like, yeah, but she's like, she allows me to live at her house and, like, all these other things. And I'm like, dude, you don't need to do that. Like, if you just want to step away and just be like, hey, I'm making my own money, I'm doing my own thing, then you do have the power to do that. And that's why him and I are working together, because he wanted to get better at sales. He wanted to figure out how to make more money so that he could be out on his own, so that he didn't have to be bombarded with, like, calls of him just having to go home just to empty out the dishwasher, and him not being able to go out on a walk late at night. I'm like, dude, that's just not healthy. Like, you got to be able to live your life. You can't be living your life for somebody else. And that's why I have started my own path and have paved my own journey of what I consider success, because I don't want to be in the same shoes that my parents were, where they end up separating or he ends up doing something bad. And I'm like, I don't want to do that, because now, some regard, they don't as much as they once did, but my mom and sisters, sometimes they will see him in me, and it does pain me, because it's just like, I'm not him. And we have talked about that as well. And that's where it all stems, you guys. It's like having the communication, having the openness, having the willingness to understand how to have these tough conversations. And that's why having a coach or reading books around communication and asking yourself how to communicate better is the first step in improving any aspect of one's life, because that's where true growth, true change, and true transformation becomes, is by understanding how to communicate, understand how to have conversations, and understand how to ask questions, and being non-judgmental of where somebody else is coming from, because they're starting where they're at, and we don't know their past until we start to talk and question. And then at that point in time, we can be like, okay, this is someone that I want to be with, or this is someone I don't want to be with, or this is something that I can't help out with, or this is something I can't help out with. And understanding that as long as we are there for ourselves and we don't come in with a judgmental attitude, the questions and the stories and the perspectives that people will tell, they'll open up in ways that you may never have realized. And that is one of the characteristic traits that I did learn from my dad, which I really do love, how he did show me how to communicate and talk with strangers and be outgoing, because it's paid off in more ways than I could ever imagine. And that's why I will keep making these videos. I'll keep doing what I can to provide as much value and inspiration and insight that I possibly can. If you do decide to work with me, awesome. If not, no worries. I hope these videos are valuable. I have a feeling that not many people are making it to the end of this video. And if you are, all I ask is leave a comment down below, I made it, or share this video with people on your social media, with your friends, your family, people that you might find value in this. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video.